do you define success in life? How do you go from here to here, whatever that success may be? I'm Margaret Booman. I remember the first teacher who inspired me to become a writer. Here at Metropolitan Community College, we pride ourselves on having teachers with real-life experience that inspires you to become your best. Let's take a look at some of their stories.
My favorite teacher is Dr. Patty Cook. She taught creative writing and business writing at New England Culinary Institute, where I received my bachelor's degree in food and beverage management. And there were a lot of wonderful classes and wonderful instructors there at that school. Patty specifically sticks out to me because she was so dedicated to the craft of writing, and I saw in myself the ability to grow so much from someone's dedication and care to me getting better. And I became a good writer because of her, and I also became more effective at using language to get my point across. And that was really a great benefit for me as a chef, and has certainly been a great benefit for me as an instructor. I originally went away to college in order to be an architect. I did some architecture work in high school and found myself very inspired by it. I saw this ability to impact an environment as a really cool thing and something I wanted to be a part of. And that's what I went away to school to do. And then as I saw myself losing patience with the timeline that it took to really make an impact in that field, I found myself still satisfied in the kitchen. That I was working in a professional kitchen most of my adolescent and young adult life as I was going to college for other things. And it was really once I decided on purpose that architecture was not going to fulfill my career goals that I saw that cooking could be something that I could give myself to wholly and find some of that same satisfaction that I would have as an architect. Certainly cooking gives you lots of opportunities to fail. The great thing about cooking, especially compared to architecture as a field, the great thing is that those failures can be small, and then you can repeat them over and over and over again in the course of one shift. That in architecture, you may be doing many of the same things, applying many of the same strengths intellectually and physically in order to be good at it, but it takes a long time to discover you haven't done it well. And then a whole nother opportunity needs to present itself to try again. In the kitchen, you get that chance to fall down 3 or 4 times an hour. And that means you can grow very rapidly. And I love that. I love that opportunity to fall down without losing any enthusiasm for doing it again and again. Teaching provides special opportunities for engagement with beginners at our craft that don't yet know the value of what they're going to be able to bring to the game. And I love that. I love the raw kind of enthusiasm that's there, or the passion that's inside them. Students always have that passion. That anybody that is voluntarily saying, I want to be in this field, is coming to it with that perhaps naivete, but certainly excitement, certainly a passion that says, I want it. And that's an environment where I thrive, where there are people that are in love with what they're doing. And that's really what has solidified me in the teaching role. I think that I was good at teaching because I like communicating. And so that was an effective way for me to share what I'm good at, was to be a teacher. But I've really fallen in love with it for the long term because there's always that positive, fresh, new energy that comes from students. I hope that what a student really gets from me is a good, high-powered mirror. I hope that a student gets to say, what I learned by having time with Brian is who I am and what I'm good at. And if that's really the power I can bring to this, I really hope that I do. That students know more about themselves, their craft, our industry, because of their relationship with me, then I have succeeded. I don't think that they're going to say, ooh, that any one student would agree with another student that Brian was really strict or really loose or really those things, because I'm different for every student that I'm in contact with, because Students all come from somewhere else and have different desires. I want to end up being able to appeal to each of them at wherever they're at and whatever they're bringing. This is a difficult job. There are a lot of challenges that face us as culinary instructors, not least of which is students that arrive without a clear understanding of what they're already good at or what they don't yet know. I don't think that's true just inside culinary arts and hospitality. I think that's true in every field, that people become enthusiastic for one reason that may or may not be related to what it takes to be successful inside that field. In our field, the great thing is that even if you determine that you're not going to do this as a professional, there's still value in having gained the training and education related to being better at this craft. That in some cases, fields that we even teach here at Metro, they're so specific to their career area that if you journey down that path for a year and then decide it's not for you, you may not have gained an essential life skill out of it. But we're teaching both. We're preparing you for industry, but even if you decide against joining this field and doing this as a professional, you've become a better cook. And when you're a better cook, you can have a better life. Because once you decide you've got the chance to create for yourself your sustenance, you have a real opportunity to be in charge of what's good and bad for you. Certainly, I think there is some joy in seeing that I've had a positive impact on a student. I do love it. I think that anybody that's in the hospitality field is a little flattery driven, right? That we want to see the impact of our actions on others, and I am no exception to that rule. But the time I feel the best is when I see in a student their own recognition that it's their strength and their ability that has caused them to be successful. That we do a lot of stuff in our program where we tell a student to do exactly as we say, right? To not think on their own, to do it by the script. And then we start to let go of those reins a little bit and let the students run on their own. And once they get towards the end of our program and even out into industry for the first year or two of their career, they start to recognize the power of their own strength, that they have developed themselves as solid leaders, solid cooks, solid teammates. And once they see that strength in themselves, that they have the power to make those impacts, and it's not about what we gave them, but what they developed in themselves, that's what makes me feel the best as a teacher. Because I know that I can't answer questions for the rest of somebody's life. It's not possible. And so for them to find the skill set to be able to pose questions and discover the answer to those questions and solve those problems on their own, of their own will, and exerting their own power over the situation, those are the moments that make me feel the best, that I built or supported an environment where students were able to discover that about themselves. My name is Brian O'Malley. I'm a chef instructor at the Institute for the Culinary Arts at Metropolitan Community College.
For me, Metropolitan Community College was a very reliable choice. All the credits I earned at MCC easily transferred over to UNO, where I completed my bachelor's degree in education. Now, I am an elementary school teacher right here in Omaha. Ahora soy instructora en un programa de 2 idiomas.
Metropolitan Community College has delivered quality education to the metro area for 40 years. The reliable option is Metropolitan Community College.
My inspiration to get into landscape it didn't hit me until way further into my 30s. When I started high school, I wanted to be a doctor. So Mrs. Powers, my 9th grade math teacher, was a huge impact, and she let me know I could do what I wanted to do. I could do math, I could understand it. So that helped me quite a bit to have some confidence in my abilities. So I went into environmental education. And that's where I really think my love for teaching started. I was able to work outside with students of all ages, and it was just a great environment. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of environmental education work. I was in Alabama for 9 months working as a naturalist at an environmental education center. And I loved the area and I loved the job, but it just wasn't where I wanted to be. So after 9 months, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I worked in the biomedical field for about 2 years. And once again, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. So then I worked with environmental engineers. And that's really when I started to discover landscape design and planning. And that's kind of where my passion came in. And so I decided I needed to go back to school. So I went back to Minnesota. I got master's degrees in landscape architecture and urban and regional planning. And that's kind of where I really started in the design field. After I finished my master's degree and during my graduate school, I was able to do some teaching and I loved it, but I didn't want to go right into teaching. I wanted to get some experience in the field. And when I graduated, I was offered a position here in Omaha, Nebraska, working for HDR Engineering. Engineering and architecture, I should say. I worked on the architectural side, had a lot of cool projects, and one of my first projects was the Institute for Culinary Arts, which is right here on the Fort Omaha campus. So I literally got to see that building be built. I helped with the planning, I helped with the landscape plants, and it was a great experience. And after about 5 years of working at HDR, a position here at Metro opened up in the horticulture department, and my husband encouraged me to apply. I didn't think I had the qualifications, but what they were looking for was the landscape design side, not just the horticulture. So it turns out I was qualified, and they hired me, and I've been here for about 1.5 years. It'll be 2 years this summer. I have a couple mentors. When I started working in the landscape architecture field, I worked with some great individuals who really taught me quite a bit. Mary McCauley and Brad Swarsik, they're both registered landscape architects at HDR. They know so much, and they're so willing to share their information, and they taught me so much. Because in grad school, you only learn so much about the field, and it's all technical. And when you get out into the real world, then you learn the real rules. You know, the things they don't tell you in grad school or in school, the things that really make a difference on the projects you're working on. So they were amazing. One of my close friends back in Minnesota was a mentor too. He is an instructor at University of Minnesota, and I never took any of his classes, but he runs a landscape design and installation firm, and he would hire me in the summers. So that's where I got some experience, and he really taught me a lot about installation. And then, he would give me some pointers for teaching every once in a while. What do I think my students are going to take away from what I instruct and what I hope to give them? I hope they are more comfortable with technology. I'm really trying to integrate technology into the classroom, and I think it's going to be a part of their jobs in the future. And I really hope that even if they aren't comfortable with it, they're not scared of it, that they can start to see some of the benefits from using technology, from using a tablet or a laptop or a certain app, or something that will help them be more successful in their field and find a job. I think a lot of the jobs in our field are going to require more technology. So that's something I want to kind of make sure at least they aren't scared of, and hopefully they'll start to embrace. The other thing is just a continued want to learn. Like, I want to teach them not only the 50 perennial plants, but I want to teach them, when they encounter that 51st perennial plant, how to look it up, how to understand it, how to know where to plant it. So kind of an understanding of where they need to go and what they can do to continue learning even when they're out in the field. Sometimes, I'm not sure exactly how to put it into my classroom, but whenever my students are trying something new, I always try and tell them, don't be afraid of failure. Even a failure is a learning opportunity. If you think about it, some of the best things we have are because somebody got unexpected results. So just try it. I tell my students, even if it doesn't work, just try it. We have some Wally Pockets hanging in the classroom, and my student worker was a little hesitant at first to try new things, but I told her, it's a plant and we can replace it if it doesn't make it. But what an amazing experience if we put something where you don't expect it to do well and it does. I mean, that's a learning opportunity. And if it doesn't work well, then we move it. Or, it goes to the big recycle heap in the yard, and we've learned something. It's all about the learning, because even from failure you can learn something. My name is Chris Engler, and I work in the Horticulture Land Systems and Management program, and my passion is landscape design and sustainability. So those are the main classes that I teach.
In response to our growing demand for corporate travel counselors, Travel and Transport partnered with Metropolitan Community College to create a travel academy designed to equip and prepare students for careers in the travel industry. Metropolitan Community College adapted to meet our workforce challenge.
MCC increases student income and business productivity, adding nearly $50 million to the state economy each year. The adaptive option is Metropolitan Community College.
I've always loved to cook. I'm not a chef by any manner of means, but I think sharing something with others and being able to cook and satisfy people, and it's usually under really great opportunities to visit and to share. So I knew that I liked that. I got a degree in dietetics and management, and I worked in a hospital while I was in high school and through college, and decided that I really liked the management end a little bit better. And I liked being around professionals. And so I saw that as a great opportunity to share my love for food and still be a part of satisfying people in a different way, but by helping them enjoy their time with us in the midst of their workday. I've been in management since the day I graduated from college. And I had the opportunity to work the majority of my time for a contract company, and in that we were contracted by either healthcare or corporate services to manage their food service operation. And my career was always in management. From my first job with the company, actually I took a job just as a salad maker with a college degree because I knew it was a company I wanted to work for, and I worked for them for almost 30 years, so it was a good choice to start with. I had some wonderful mentors in my life. One that I think about the most was actually someone that was from our church. She was in charge of our education department at our church, and she was one that always taught me that it was about people, that you need to make sure that if you're going to be in a management role, that you take care of your people, that first thing you do is learn their names. You learn a little bit about them. You don't get necessarily best friends, but you understand why they are a part of your team and how they can be effective as a part of your team. And she was someone that I could always, because in management you can't always talk to your employees, so you have to find someone else that you can discuss things with, and she was always that person for me. While I was still working full-time, I was part of adjunct for almost 10 years. And because I knew there were people that were training here at the Metropolitan Community College in culinary arts, and I wanted to be connected to them and let them know about who we were and the company that I worked for, and I wanted to understand about new talent that was coming up and what they were learning so that I could be a part of that. So I did that for about 10 years, and in that time there were some personal changes in my life. My mother became ill, and I decided that I didn't want to travel anymore. I was on the road a lot. And so I decided that it was time for me to look at something else. And for a while, I did event planning and concierge services with another another member of adjunct here. And that was a lot of fun. And then a full-time position came open here, the first full-time hospitality management instructor. I was lucky enough to post and be accepted, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. We all know how we like to be treated. So I think that I try to tell students that put yourself in the role of the people that we're serving, understand their circumstances. When I was in healthcare, the meal that they ate was the one thing they had control over. I mean, everybody knows what they like to eat, but they might not have had control over things that were happening in the hospital around them. So if I could just help them or their family just for a moment think about something really happy and that made them feel good, then that was what my goal was. And I just always told the team that I worked with that that was what their job was. Same thing happened in corporate America. There's a lot of stresses out there in work every day. And so when someone comes down to dine with us, chooses to come down and dine with us, and they come down there and they've probably had a few things that maybe didn't go exactly the way they wanted that day, just for a moment, if we could have them just get away from that and enjoy visiting with others and eating some great food, and hopefully the staff took good care of them, and it was just natural. It was the right thing to do. It's an addictive industry. It's fun. It's dealing with people. It has its challenges. And so I want to make sure that when people get into management that they understand that there are many, many rewards and there are many, many challenges, and that I want them to have a realistic picture of what they're going to be doing when they get out in the real world and know how much fun it can be. It doesn't have to be negative. I think in my supervision class, the first thing I start out with is tell me something about a supervisor that really made them an exceptional person to work for. And it's amazing how many things they can think about. And I say, so now, 5 years from now, wouldn't you like, as we look at this board, everything on this board that your employees would be saying about you? So I want them to always, I'm kind of a half full kind of a person. And so I always want them to think about what's the positive that you can take away and bring out of every situation. It's not about who did what or who to blame. It's about how we can make it better and make it better for everyone that we work with and everyone that we serve. Being in the service industry and the hospitality industry is not for everyone. One size does not fit all, and that's the other thing you have to keep in mind too, that you have to find the person that enjoys what they're doing and understands people. You know, I think one of my greatest stories was I had a manager that reported to me, and she was a little bit gruff in the way that she came across to the people that she worked with. She had great talent, and she truly cared about the people that were on her team. She just didn't come across that way. And so when I sat down several times to talk to her, and we talked a little bit about the golden rule, and she said, you know, the thing is, Joellen, that my golden rule is different than yours. I appreciate being spoke to in a direct way, and that's the way I live. And so all of a sudden it dawned upon me that everybody has a different reality, and what our role is to try to figure out how can we serve that person in a way that feels good to them. Sometimes it is standing back. Sometimes it's getting involved. We just have to be able to read that and understand. And you know, once again, I think that in management you have to understand it's not about you. It's how you can bring that team together to perform and feel good about what they did, want to do it every day. There's a lot of fun things in the front of the house. You know, I also teach event planning, and I was very involved in some really exciting events in my career, both in the corporate world and when I had an opportunity to plan events like weddings. It's a great celebration and joyous time, and it's exciting and takes a lot of initiative and also creativity. So I think it's a lot of fun being in the front of the house. After all, the people in the back of the house don't really get that customer feedback. So it's up to us in the front of the house to make sure that it gets back there to them and that how they're appreciated, and so I think it's a lot more fun to be in the front. I'm Joellen Zook, and I'm part of the Institute for Culinary Arts, Hospitality and Restaurant Leadership. And I am a full-time faculty, and I teach classes that students sometimes don't think that that's why they came here. It's about people and about money. And we have to learn how to manage those aspects of our business, and that was what I did in my career, and that's why I'm here.
Whatever option fits best, Metropolitan Community College is focused on you.
Come experience it for yourself. Metropolitan Community College.